Hello and welcome to week 13. This week we have everything put together for our research project. We're just going to finalize it all. So I have several things going on. There is a video that talks about how to organize it. In this video, I do mention the editorial analysis, which you do not need to include in your paper. This is just a video I put together last year. I'm just going to use it again because I think it works really well. I also have a document about how we put it together. And then for a refresher, there's a video on the research project. I call it an overview, but it really is just an explanation, might be the better word. So it explains what we need to do for this project. Yeah, so we're nearly done with that. In addition, I have commented on your research argument draft, so you can click right here to go to the Turnitin assignment for the research argument draft. Click on the View Complete button, and then look at the view and read my comments. Many of your papers are doing just fine. There's just a few questions I have for you. Several of you do not have enough sources and don't really go in depth into an argument. So we need to make sure that we are arguing for something, and that becomes the idea that something needs to change, that something's not working, what we're doing is not the right thing. It really depends on the topic. So make sure you have plenty of sources. 2 sources, 4 sources, 5 sources is not going to cut it, because this is going to lead to your call to action. So this is providing the support that directs us to what you think needs to be done. So it needs to be well researched and well documented. So good citations throughout. We have a discussion board for by Sunday. It's checking in. I just have some questions about how things are going. And then if you have a question or concern, please type it and then send it to me. Many of you are sending me questions, and I think that helps out a lot, but many of you are not. And yeah, I think it shows. You don't quite understand the project and you're not asking me questions. It is a little bit different than other research papers you have done. So it's very important that if I'm not explaining something clearly enough, that you reach out to me, because we don't have this face-to-face time after class where I can look at you and see that you're confused. I can only look at what you turn in and hope that you're reading my feedback. Lastly, we are working on the final part of our project, which is a presentation. The presentations will be due next Wednesday. I think it's important to have the presentation done before you finalize your project, because sometimes we figure out what we want to say when we are practicing saying it, presenting it to others. So the presentation is going to be 7 slides that discuss your call to action, provide any necessary background to understand the situation for the call to action, such as the history of the problem, what's going on now, what's the situation, is something failing, etc. Then you'll have another slide that supports the call, another one that explains the opposition, and then your rebuttal or your refutation of the argument. And then you need a works cited. So we're looking at about 7 slides. It's nothing really big, and you've already got that information through your call to action draft. You're really just looking at explaining and justifying your call to action. It will be a presentation, meaning we will be using either PowerPoint or Google Slides or Keynote or whatever software you have. If you do not have any of that software, you can do a bullet points on a blank document, and that is perfectly fine. But I do need to hear your voice over top of what you were talking about. So just, these presentation points and then more explanation from you. So there are ways to do it. PowerPoint with a voiceover. You can do embedded narration, but those don't always transfer well. You can play your presentation on your screen and record it from your phone. People have done that and it works out just fine. It's not the best, but we're not looking for a professional presentation. You can have somebody record you. I just want to be able to see your information and hear you. You don't have to have yourself present. You're not reading from note cards or anything like that. You just should be able to explain the topics. I'm not asking you to memorize anything. That's kind of silly. I've been having good luck just using Zoom and recording my screen share. So I go to share my screen, then I record it, and it appears with me in a little window over here, and all that information just on the big screen, and then I can upload it to YouTube, or sometimes it saves as a file. You are also going to share this presentation with your group. Your group's going to watch it and provide some feedback. The feedback from me and your group is going to be used to write your final paper, which is the capstone. The capstone is kind of a reflection and final word. You get the final say in your project, and that's where you answer any questions, things that you maybe hadn't thought of, from either your group or from me. So I will be providing you some criticism about your call to action and your argument, and that's where you get to address it, do a little bit of additional research to answer that question. So that's what we have going on this week. You did turn in your call to action drafts. I will just be glancing at those. I'm not going to provide in-depth feedback. I think the argument feedback I've given you will help you with your call to action a little bit better, but I'll be looking at those throughout this week and providing you a little bit of feedback. Hopefully your groups will provide you some good feedback before you do your presentation. So that is where we are. If you have questions, as always, please make sure you contact me. Have a good week.